So Poe Standards, right? We have a show called Poe Standards, right?
Uh, Kinda.
Sort of. I mean, it was
It's
originally this.
it's a show that's ending one episode after this one.
This would have been the final episode, though, if things hadn't had the dramatic shift from last time.
What? Fucking God. Okay. Off. Off.
What? Did the bird come back again? Did the raven come back?
Yep, that's what happened.
Okay, yeah, you got to keep shooing it away. It doesn't want to give up.
I'm certainly not terribly unprofessional and didn't turn off that alarm the first time.
Ravens are an alarm. I get it. They're alarming when they show up. By the way, I hope you like how I've redecorated, because I figured, hey, it's Pride Month, so I've made every room in my house a different color.
Oh, that's nifty.
Yeah. So we're currently in the white room with black curtains, and it's a station. But if you go over there, that's like a maroon room. And then over there, there's the teal room. And over there, there's the Purple Mountains Majesty room. And somewhere way in the back is the red room. But we don't go in the red room. I'm pretty sure there's someone with a creepy plague deal in there. So let's not go in there. Let's just continue to live decadently while the masses suffer outside from horrible flea-induced conditions.
All the kids out there get get that reference to Cream lyrics.
Nothing but professionalism on Undercooked Analysis, the show where how many people, well, hopefully everybody who listens who likes Poe knows what's going on. Anyway, but I did all this for you. I did all this for you, and so did Maureen. Maureen edited in all the sound effects, which was really nice of her.
Yeah, real solid work, Future Maureen.
Thank you, Future Maureen. Oh, wait. Oh, Future Maureen is wearing a skull mask. That's a little unsettling.
That is, yeah. Not a fan of the new look, Maureen.
No, Maureen. Oh, don't know. Ew. Everyone, she's making a slashing motion across her throat, like with her finger.
Is Maureen going to kill us?
I think Maureen has taken on the role of the Red Death in this situation. I'm a little worried that she's taking this part too seriously. Don't eat the snickerdoodle cookie she makes this time, Alan.
I'm probably not gonna.
Okay, it's probably for the best.
Yeah. Weird fact about Future Maureen that maybe we haven't let our crowd in on is every single time we record an episode of this podcast, we, in direct overnight mail, receive a hot dish and a plate of snickerdoodle cookies.
It's really great. Honestly, we don't. Admittedly, I'm not sure how she makes it, especially after she was, really violently killed in that story, But she still manages to make the best snickerdoodle cookies, and I don't. Maybe death is just an enhancer for how she gets it to us as quickly as she does. So
yeah.
I'm honestly really happy to have her, and I don't like the way that she's looking at me right now.
Death is the secret ingredient to the perfect green bean casserole. By the way, my secret is I don't use the crunchy onions.
No.
They do crunchy jalapenos now, and I do those.
Ooh. Well, if I'd known that was the trick, I would have asked you to make some for this fancy party. But as such, I think the main thing we do have to do is talk about the next story in the roster of the F tier Poe stories. So, what do you have to serve up?
I know that up next on our list after Silence is what we read last time. Yes. The weird kitty cat story. Before, I do want to, it is so infrequently we shout out the comments. I do, Future Maureen, edit this weirdness out.
She's making the slashing motion again.
Thank you. I'm sure that only means we'll cut that.
I hope, yeah. I don't think it's communicating. She's normally really, really talkative, but she's being weirdly silent. So
Sickney in the Discord said that demon that was patting the dude on his head and then the cat comes out at the end is Personally, I like to think that the demon thought he was talking to his cat the whole time and was talking to it, and at the end was like, wait, if that's the cat, who is this?
Either the demon needs spectacles or it's been dark in there the whole time.
Like the demon has reached a point where it just like can't discern between a
cat and a human.
Yeah.
Presuming our narrator is human, but so the story you have given me is called The Man of the Crowd, and this was published in 1845.
Yes. Those things are true.
This looks like it's a touch on the longer side, so maybe we should just grin, bear it, and dive right in.
Let's do it.
All right.
Edgar Allan Poe, you fucking hack.
You sicko.
Hack fraud, Edgar Allan Poe.
Are we that editor he was having a feud with now?
Yep, it's us.
It was us. Ce grand malheur de ne pouvoir être sur la bruyère. I probably butchered that extremely, but there you go. I do notice this is not an allegory. It's not a fable, and it's just I guess this one's just a story now.
Real change of pace for Poe Standards.
Mm-hmm. Could this be the worst Poe story in terms of it being compared to others being one was a fable, one was an allegory, one was an essay with a story in it?
Yeah.
Mecca Lecca High, Mecca High Ni Ho.
The only French I know is from Pierre Escargot.
Oh yeah, the best French teacher we've ever had.
Yeah. Qui a écrasé mon chien chaud? Who squashed my corn dog?
Oh! It was well said of a certain... Sorry.
No, go ahead.
It was well said of a certain German book that "Lass sich nicht lesen." It does not permit itself to be read. There are some secrets which do not permit themselves to be told. Men die nightly in their beds, wringing the hands of ghostly confessors and looking them piteously in the eyes. Die with despair of heart and convulsion of throat on account of the hideousness of mysteries, which will not suffer themselves to be revealed. Now and then, alas, the conscience of man takes up a burthen? The conscience of man takes up a burthen so heavy in horror that it can be thrown down only into the grave, and thus the essence of all crime is undivulged. Strong start there, Edgar.
Dictionary, burthen, old form of burden.
I assumed it was something like this, but, I can go with this. Oui.
Not long ago, about the closing in of an evening in autumn, I sat at the large bow window of the Dick Coffee House in London. I'm saying Dick Coffee House, ladies and gentlemen, because in the version of the story I've posted, it's just D and then like a blank underline space to suggest something has been censored. So now it's the Dick Coffee House.
I just assumed you were going to call it the DeMarcus Coffee House, but okay.
The large bow window of the Dick Coffee House in London.
Okay.
For some months, I had been ill in health and was now convalescent, and with returning strength, found myself in one of those happy moods which are so precisely the converse of ennui. It's appetency. When the film from the mental vision departs. Okay, what's going on?
Is this okay? No one told me we were reading The Gold Bug and this was all going to be in fucking code, okay? Dear listeners, there's... Would you like to explain what you see here, Alan?
Cool. So, when the film from the mental vision departs, 2 dashes, the 5 X's, 2 X's, 4 X's, and another 4 X's, and then in brackets, Greek text. So going up with what I did with the Dick Coffee House in London, when the film from the mental vision departs, the cunty ass fuck shit, and the intellect, Greek text, intellect electrified, surpasses as greatly its everyday condition, as does the vivid yet candid reason of Leibniz, The mad and flimsy rhetoric of Gorgias. Merely to breathe was enjoyment, and I derived positive pleasure even from many of the legitimate sources of pain. I felt a calm but inquisitive interest in everything. With a cigar in my mouth and a newspaper in my lap, I had been amusing myself for the greater part of the afternoon, now in poring over advertisements, now in observing the promiscuous company in the room, and now in peering through the smoky panes into the street.
So some of that made sense to me. The rest of it I kind of had to parse through. But suffice to say, this is probably how I felt right around the end of the lockdowns, when I was really going, I'm just going to really appreciate every small thing that I see.
As you sit there at the Dick Coffee House?
Yeah, admiring all the dicks that come through the coffee house.
Yeah.
Big ones, small ones.
The cunty ass fuck shit.
So much cunty ass fuck shit going on here. This ladder is one of the principal thoroughfares of the city. It had been very much crowded during the whole day. But as the darkness came on, the throng momentarily increased. And by the time the lamps...
You think it was I Believe in a Thing Called Love? Or Get Your Hands Off of My Woman. That's another good one.
By the time the lamps were well lighted, two dense and continuous tides of population were rushing past the door. At this particular period of the evening, I had never before been in a similar situation, and the tumultuous sea of human heads filled me, therefore, with a delicious novelty of emotion. I gave up, at length, all care of things within the hotel, and became absorbed in contemplation of the scene without. That's a very long-winded way to say I really like people watching.
Yeah, that's what I'm getting so far.
Mm-hmm.
This is just a guy with a cigar and a newspaper, people watching at a coffee bar.
I mean, there's not a lot to do in 1845, presumably, if that's when this is set, and except to do that. And more power to our narrator. He's got his cigar, he's got his newspaper, he's got his Dick Coffee House, and he's got his cunty ass fuck shit. Great characters.
I was just reminded of a character DeMarcus and I came up with. Have I ever talked about? Okay, so at some point we were for some reason talking about penis-shaped pancakes.
As you do.
And one of us said Dick Hotcakes at some point. So we made the character Dick Hotcakes, who is obviously the bassist in a jazz group. Hey there, folks.
Good.
Dick Hotcakes on the strings tonight. Doom 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 doom.
That's it. I before I forget, choice UCA meme that was buried in the background. Remember Dozing Dick? Or Dick Dozing?
Dick Dozing. Dick Dozing was he a narcoleptic?
He was a narcoleptic he was a narcoleptic detective. That's right. Dick Dozing.
Now, if we were to follow these tracks, we might.
Oh shit! He's down. Oh man. This happens whenever he hears a lick from Dick Hotcakes.
Yes. The two dicks.
A pair of dicks, a most ingenious pair of dicks. Okay. Oh my god. We're going to be here forever.
At first, my observations took an abstract and generalizing turn. I looked at the passengers and masses and thought of them in their relations. Soon, however, I descended to details and regarded with minute interest the innumerable varieties of figure, dress, air, gait, visage, and expression of countenance. So this literally is just people watching. Okay.
Yep. And he's categorizing them and judging them based on their stat blocks that he can witness. Anyway, it's pretty good. He's like, you're clearly not a stealth archer. Oh, you are, though. By far, the greater number of those who went by had a satisfied businesslike demeanor and seemed to be thinking only of making their way through the press. Their brows were knit and their eyes rolled quickly. When pushed against by fellow wayfarers, they evinced no symptom of impatience, but adjusted their clothes and hurried on. Others, still a numerous class, were restless in their movements, had flushed faces, and talked and gesticulated to themselves, as if feeling in solitude on account of the very denseness of the company around. When impeded in their progress, these people suddenly ceased muttering, but redoubled their gesticulations and awaited, with an absent and overdone smile upon the lips, the course of the persons impeding them. If jostled, they bowed profusely to the jostlers, and appeared overwhelmed with confusion. There was nothing very distinctive about these two large classes beyond what I have noted. Their habiliments belonged to that order which is pointedly termed the decent. They were undoubtedly noblemen, merchants, attorneys, tradesmen, stock jobbers, the eupatrids, and the commonplace of society, men of leisure and men actively engaged in affairs of their own, conducting business upon their own responsibility. They did not greatly excite my attention. Then why did you elaborate on them so much, Edgar?
Yeah.
There were some dudes, and they had different habits. That's why I love old writing, though, honestly.
Hey, David?
Yeah?
I'm going to say that so far, got a bad feeling about this story.
Yeah, I'm worried. I'm just trying to keep this moving, you know? I want to keep it moving because I'm just waiting for it to be... I'm just waiting for the demon head pats at this point.
Yeah.
No, I'm waiting for the hippopotami. I'm waiting for...
We're getting a lot of nothing right now.
We sure are.
The tribe of clerks was an obvious one, and here I discerned two remarkable divisions.
I discerned that I used to play bass for the tribe of clerks.
It's a solid one.
Yeah.
I'm going to give it, though, I'm going to say slightly better, is there were the junior clerks of flash houses.
Oh fuck yeah, that's a good one.
I think that's a better I used to play bass for.
Yeah, I didn't read far enough ahead, but that's pretty good.
Young gentlemen with tight coats, bright boots, well-oiled hair, and supercilious lips. Used to play bass for supercilious lips. This is just so far a good I used to play bass for paragraph.
Well, you know, supercilious lips do sink super serious ships.
It's true. Setting aside a certain dapperness of carriage. Man, this really is a good used to play bass for paragraph.
Oh my god, this
dapperness
is gold. Dapperness of carriage is pretty great.
Which may be termed schism, for want of a better word. The manner of these persons seemed to me an exact facsimile of what had been the perfection of bon ton about 12 or 18 months before. They were the cast-off graces of the gentry, and this, I believe, involves the best definition of the class.
Okay. Sure. I'm just going to keep going till something makes more sense to me.
I was about to say, all that we just said about a lot of those being good band names, still nothing happening.
Yeah, it's just him observing different kinds of people and saying what they are, and I'm waiting for the payoff. And again, I know this is us looking at this through a modern lens, but man, writing convention has tightened up considerably since this time. And also, Poe has written much tighter stories.
Yeah.
Much better. The division of the upper clerks of staunch firms, or of the steady old fellows, it was not possible to mistake. These were known by their coats and pantaloons of black or brown, made to sit comfortably, with white cravats and waistcoats, broad, solid-looking shoes, and thick hose or gaiters. They all had slightly bald heads, from which the right ears, long used for pen-holding, had an odd habit of standing off on end. I observed that they always removed or settled their hats with both hands, and wore watches with short gold chains of substantial and ancient pattern. Theirs was the affectation of respectability, if indeed there be an affectation so honorable. So, okay, he's categorizing all these passersby still. So that's really what it is.
Edgar, this better not be all the story is.
Mm-hmm.
I swear to God.
Mm-hmm. If it is, we'll know why it's an F-tier story.
Yeah, no. There were many individuals of dashing appearance, whom I easily understood as belonging to the race of swell pickpockets, with which all great cities are infested. I watched these gentry with much inquisitiveness, and found it difficult to imagine how they should ever be mistaken for gentlemen by gentlemen themselves. Their voluminousness of wristband, with an air of excessive frankness, should betray them at once.
So you can spot a pickpocket. Good for you. The gamblers, of which I described not a few, were still more easily recognizable. They wore every variety of dress, from that of the desperate thimble rig bully. Ooh, that's a good one. Thimble rig bully?
Yeah, that's a very good one.
Mm-hmm. With velvet waistcoat, fancy neckerchief, gilt chains, and filigreed buttons, to that of the scrupulously inornate clergyman, than which nothing more could be less liable to suspicion. Still, all were distinguished by a certain sodden swarthiness of complexion, a filmy dimness of eye, and pallor and compression of lip. There were two other traits, moreover, by which I could always detect them: a guarded lowness of tone in conversation, and a more than ordinary extension of the thumb in a direction at right angles with the fingers. Very often, in company of these sharpers, I observed an order of men somewhat different in habit, but still birds of a kindred feather. They may be defined as the gentlemen who live by their wits. They seem to prey upon the public in two battalions, that of the dandies and that of the military men. Of the first grade, the leading features are long locks and smiles. Of the second, frogged coats and frowns. So is he like looking at the crowd and go, dandies?
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Descending in the scale of what is termed gentility, I found darker and deeper themes for speculation. I saw no.
Oh no!
No.
I'm kind of surprised it took us this long to get here, considering. We could skip that whole bit.
Yep.
That whole bit.
I'm trying. I'm right now highlighting what I'm not going to read.
Yep. There's for those, just to make sure we're informing but not informing, there's a certain stereotype that is now being portrayed here very negatively.
Way to make it awkward, Edgar.
Now I'm just sitting here. I was laughing at all the other stuff, and then now it's like, and then you had to point out a certain ethnicity and say, and these people are like this.
Jameson tapes. Sturdy professional street beggars, scowling upon mendicants of a better stamp, whom despair alone had driven forth into the night for charity. Feeble and ghastly invalids, upon whom death had placed a sure hand, and who sidled and tottered through the mob, looking every one beseechingly in the face, as if in search of some chance consolation, some lost hope. Modest young girls returning from long and late labor to a cheerless home, and shrinking more tearfully than indignantly from the glances of ruffians, whose direct contact, even, could not be avoided. And then there was Davy, who was still in the Navy, and probably will be for life. Women of the town of all kinds and of all ages, the unequivocal beauty in the prime of her womanhood, putting one in mind of the statue in Lucian, with the surface of Parian marble, and the interior filled with filth. Jesus, man!
Oh, man.
The loathsome and utterly lost leper in rags, the wrinkled, bejeweled, and paint-begrimed beldame. Translation, an old woman. Making a last effort at youth, the mere child of an immature form, yet from long association, an adept in the dreadful coquetries of her trade.
Coquetries.
I like coquetries better, so I'm going to say it that way.
I do too.
And burning with a rabbit.
Now I'm thinking of someone walking through the crowd pretending to be a horrible, scaly chicken, just going.
What manner of coquetry is this?
Well, of course, you got to get the coquetry at the Dick Coffee House.
Yes. And burning with a rabid ambition to be ranked the equal of her elders in vice. Drunkards, innumerable and describable. They sit at the bar and put bread in my jar and say, "Man, what are you doing here?"
Oh, la da da dee da.
Some in shreds and patches, reeling inarticulate with bruised visage and lackluster eyes. Hey, Edgar? Hey, are we doing anything?
He's slowly pointing out, he's going from, here's the people I noticed that were, like, funny, and then here's the people I noticed who were, like, gross and awful.
Some in whole, although filthy garments, with a slightly unsteady swagger, thick, sensual lips, and hardy-looking, rubicund faces. Others clothed in materials which had once been good, and which even now are scrupulously well-brushed. Men who walked with a more than naturally firm and springy step, but whose countenances were fearfully pale, whose eyes hideously wild and red. and who clutched with quivering fingers as they strode through the crowd at every object which came within their reach. Beside these, piemen, porters, coal heavers, sweeps, organ grinders, monkey exhibitors, and ballad mongers, those who vended and those who sang, ragged artisans and exhausted laborers of every description, and all full of a noisy and inordinate vivacity which jarred discordantly upon the ear, and gave an aching sensation to the eye.
And then a circus troupe came through. Wow. So when does something happen?
And suddenly, bees!
Yay! Bees! Oh no, bees! I'm allergic! As the night deepened, so deepened to me the interest for the scene. For not only did the general character of the crowd materially alter, its gentler features retiring in the gradual withdrawal of the more orderly portion of the people, and its harsher ones coming out into bolder relief as the late hour brought forth every species of infamy from its den. But the rays of the gas lamps, feeble at first in their struggle with the dying day, had now at length gained ascendancy and threw over everything a fitful and garish luster. All was dark and splendid, as that ebony to which has been likened to the style of Tertullian.
The wild effects of the light enchained me to an examination of individual faces. And although the rapidity with which the world of light flitted before the window prevented me from casting more than a glance upon each visage, still it seemed that, in my then peculiar mental state, I could frequently read, even in that brief interval of a glance, the history of long years. I know I keep making Piano Man jokes.
we got on this during the dregs, everybody, and it kind of stuck with us. But yeah, go ahead.
But I don't even know where I was going with what I just said. But man, fucking something happened.
This I guess we can mentally make that correlation though, because man, it's just him chilling at a coffee house or a bar, and he's just watching people go by, and that damn guy on the harmonica won't shut the fuck up. With my brow to the glass, I was thus occupied in scrutinizing the mob, when suddenly there came into view a countenance, that of a decrepit old man, some 65 or 70 years of age. A countenance which at once arrested and absorbed my whole attention on account of the absolute idiosyncrasy of its expression. Anything even remotely resembling that expression I had never seen before. I well remember that my first thought, upon beholding it, was that Rach, had he viewed it, would have greatly preferred it to his own practical incarnations of the fiend. As I endeavored during the brief minute of my original survey to form some analysis of the meaning conveyed, there arose confusedly and paradoxically within my mind the idea of vast mental power, of caution, penuriousness, of avarice, of coolness, of malice, of bloodthirstiness, of triumph, of merriment, of excessive terror, of intense, of supreme despair. I felt singularly aroused. Startled, fascinated. How wild history, I said to myself, is written within that bosom. So happy Pride Month, Edgar. Then came a craving desire to keep the man in view, to know more of him. Hurriedly putting on an overcoat and seizing my hat and cane, I made my way into the street and pushed through the crowd in the direction which I had seen him take, for he had already disappeared. With some little difficulty, I at length came within sight of him, approached and followed him closely, yet cautiously, so as not to attract his attention. Cool, he's stalking an old man. At least something's happening now.
Yeah, I will not argue the fact that is now a thing that is happening. I had now a good opportunity of examining this person. He was short in stature, very thin, and apparently very feeble. His clothes generally were filthy and ragged. But as he came, now and then, within the strong glare of a lamp, I perceived that his linen, although dirty, was of beautiful texture. And my vision deceived me, or through a rent in a closely buttoned and evidently second-hand roquelaire, which enveloped him, I caught a glimpse both of a diamond and of a dagger. These observations heightened my curiosity, and I resolved to follow the stranger whithersoever he should go.
You have nothing better to do than follow a member of the Dark Brotherhood.
That guy has a knife. Let's follow him.
It was now fully nightfall, and a thick, humid fog hung over the city, soon ending in a settled and heavy rain. This change of weather had an odd effect upon the crowd, the whole of which was at once put into new commotion and overshadowed by a world of umbrellas. The waver, the jostle, and the hum increased in a tenfold degree. For my own part, I did not much regard the rain, the lurking of an old fever in my system rendering the moisture somewhat too dangerously pleasant. Tying a handkerchief about my mouth, mask up, that's considerate of you, I kept on. For half an hour the old man held his way with difficulty along the great thoroughfare, and I here walked close to his elbow through fear of losing sight of him. Never once turning his head to look back, he did not observe me. By and by he passed into a cross street, which, although densely filled with people, was not quite so much thronged as the main one he had quitted. Here a change in his demeanor became evident. He walked more slowly and with less object than before, more hesitatingly. He crossed and recrossed the way repeatedly, without apparent aim, and the press was still so thick that, at every such movement, I was obliged to follow him closely. The street was a narrow and long one, and his course lay within it for nearly an hour, during which the passengers had gradually diminished to about that number which is so ordinarily seen at noon in Broadway near the park. So vast a difference is there between a London populace and there of the most frequented American city. A second turn brought us into a square, brilliantly lighted and overflowing with life. The old manner of the stranger reappeared. His chin fell upon his breast, while his eyes rolled wildly from under his knit brows in every direction, upon those who hemmed him in. He urged his way steadily and perseveringly. I was surprised, however, to find upon his having made the circuit of the square, that he turned and retraced his steps. Still more was I astonished to see him repeat the same walk several times, once nearly detecting me as he came round with a sudden movement. Okay, I'm kind of interested. I'm kind of curious now, but it took a really fucking long time to get here.
Yeah, I don't know.
I say kind of interested. The only interesting part is now the visual of walking with these in these gaslit streets under rain with a bunch of black umbrellas, and here's our weirdly curious narrator following the creepy old man with a knife who's apparently walking in a very specific way. Okay. We only have so much more. I think. So
in this exercise, he spent another hour, at the end of which we met with far less interruption from passengers than at first. The rain fell fast. The air grew cool. Spaghetti. And the people were retiring to their homes. With a gesture of impatience, the wanderer passed into a by-street comparatively deserted. Down this, some quarter of a mile long, he rushed with an activity I could not have dreamed of seeing in one so aged, and which put me to much trouble in pursuit. A few minutes brought us to a large and busy bazaar, with the localities of which the stranger appeared well acquainted, and where his original demeanor again became apparent, as he forced his way to and fro without aim, among the host of buyers and sellers. Gosh, the way this guy was running away from me, you'd think someone was like following him or something.
Yeah! Why is he doing this? Get away from me! During the hour and a half, or thereabouts, which we passed in this place, it required... He's even following him for like 3 or 4 hours now?
It seems like it.
Jesus Christ. During the hour and a half, or thereabouts, which we passed in this place, it required much caution on my part to keep him within reach without attracting his observation. Luckily, I wore a pair of couch chalk? Something made out of resembling rubber. Okay, couch chalk overshoes, and could move about in perfect silence. At no moment did he see that I watched him. He entered shop after shop, priced nothing, spoke no word, and looked at all objects with a wild and vacant stare. I was now utterly amazed at his behavior, and firmly resolved that we should not part until I had satisfied myself in some measure respecting him. Yeah, this old man is just doing things. He's like, why won't you leave me alone?
I can see you. He couldn't see me.
Your chameleon is only 35%. I know you're there.
He didn't know that I was following him. Stop following me! There's no way he could see it. I was able to keep up with him because of my rubber shoes, and he had no idea. I can hear you talking!
He became very agitated for no apparent reason. Why are you talking to yourself? Why are you narrating everything you say? Who are you?
A loud-toned clock struck 11, and the company... and the company were fast deserting the bazaar. A shopkeeper, in putting up a shutter, jostled the old man, and at the instant I saw a strong shudder come over his frame, he hurried into the street, looked anxiously around him for an instant, and then ran with incredible swiftness through many crooked and peopleless lanes, until we emerged once more upon the great thoroughfare whence we had started. The street of the Dick Hotel. It no longer wore, however, the same aspect. It was still brilliant with gas, but the rain fell fiercely, and there were few persons to be seen. The stranger grew pale. He walked moodily some paces up the once populous avenue, then, with a heavy sigh, turned in the direction of the river, and plunging through a great variety of devious ways, came out, at length, in view of one of the principal theaters. It was about being closed, and the audience were thronging... Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I'm guessing that means it was about to be closed?
Yeah, I think that the show had just wrapped and everybody was leaving.
It was about being closed, and the audience were thronging from the doors.
Yeah.
I saw the old man gasp as if for breath while he threw himself amid the crowd. But I thought that the intense agony of his countenance had, in some measure, abated. His head again fell upon his breast. He appeared as I had seen him at first. I observed that he now took the course in which had gone the greater number of the audience, but upon the whole, I was at a loss to comprehend the waywardness of his actions.
I just really was hoping I could lose him in this crowd, but God damn it, he's still there. He's still Officer! As he proceeded, the company grew more scattered, and his old uneasiness and vacillation were resumed. For some time he followed closely a party of some 10 or 12 roisterers, but from this number one by one dropped off, until 3 only remained together. In a narrow and gloomy lane little frequented, the stranger paused, and for a moment seemed lost in thought. Then, with every mark of agitation, pursued rapidly a route which brought us to the verge of the city, amid regions very different from those we had hitherto traversed. It was the most noisome quarter of London, where everything wore the worst impress of the most deplorable poverty and of the most desperate crime. By the dim light of an accidental lamp, tall, antique, worm-eaten, wooden tenements were seen tottering into their fall, in directions so many and capricious that scarce the semblance of a passage was discernible between them. The paving stones lay at random, displaced from their beds by the rankly growing grass. Horrible filth festered in the dammed-up gutters. The whole atmosphere teemed with desolation. I saw tarpaulin and legs go by. They had just abducted 2 women. It was really weird. Yet, as we proceeded, the sounds of human life revived by sure degrees, and at length large bands of the most abandoned of a London populace were seen reeling to and fro. The spirits of the old man again flickered up, as a lamp which is near its death hour. Once more he strode onward with elastic tread. Suddenly a corner was turned. A blaze of light burst upon our sight, and we stood before one of the huge suburban temples of intemperance, one of the palaces of the fiend, Jinn.
We're on the last paragraph.
Here we go.
It was now nearly daybreak, but a number of wretched inebriates still pressed in and out of the flaunting entrance. With a half-shriek of joy, the old man forced a passage within, resumed at once his original bearing, and stalked backward and forward without apparent object among the throng. He had not been thus long occupied, however, before a rush to the doors gave token that the host was closing them for the night. It was something even more intense than despair that I then observed upon the countenance of the singular being whom I had watched so pertinaciously. Yet he did not hesitate in his career, but with a mad energy retraced his steps at once to the heart of the mighty London. Long and swiftly he fled, while I followed him in the wildest amazement, resolute not to abandon a scrutiny in which I now felt an interest all-absorbing.
God damn it, leave me alone!
The sun arose while we proceeded, and when we had once... Jesus Christ! And when we had once again reached that most thronged part of the populous town, the street of the Dick Hotel, it presented an appearance of hue and bustle and activity scarcely inferior to what I had seen on the evening before. And here, long amid the momently increasing confusion, did I persist in my pursuit of the stranger. But as usual, he walked to and fro, and during the day did not pass from out the turmoil of that street. And as the shades of the second evening came on,
Dear God,
I grew wearied unto death, and stopping fully in front of the wanderer, gazed at him steadfastly in the face. He noticed me not, but I'm looking right at you! That resumed his solemn walk, while I, ceasing to follow, remained absorbed in contemplation. This old man, I said at length, he
played one?
Yes. Is the type and the genius of deep crime. He refuses to be alone. He is the man of the crowd. It will be in vain to follow, for I shall learn no more of him nor of his deeds. The worst heart of the world is a grosser book than the Hortulus Animae, and perhaps it is but one of the great mercies of God that las sich nicht lesen. Hey,
what?
Edgar,
hey,
this
Edgar?
was dog shit.
Yeah.
F minus minus.
Oh, wow. Ooh. So let me get this straight. Our narrator follows this old man around for basically 24 hours. Yeah. And only realizes, oh, I guess this guy is a personification of he's
wanting to blend into the crowd, or
he is literally a personification of the person who wants to blend in with the crowd. And he desperately moves around until there's a crowd and then he's happy. But then as soon as there's not, he just exists to be a man of the crowd.
I guess that's it.
Okay. That sure is a long-winded way to present a really...
For one night only, you can call me Rufus Griswold, because this story sucked.
Okay, yeah. I'm with you. This is far and away the worst thing we've read on Poe Standards. Of the 4 stories, the 4 of the 5 stories we have read, all of them have had little bits and pieces that I've enjoyed. This one had maybe a glimmer at one point, but that was just because of the way something was described. It had nothing to do with the story. Yeah, this is terrible. This is awful.
No, this is pretty fucking bad. It's
rambling. It's ultimately kind of pointless. And I don't care that this is Poe we're talking about. This is bad. He wrote a bad story. This is bad.
If you're looking at the complete works of someone who's very prolific, there's going to be some stinkers in there.
I stress again, we did read a little bit of Lair of the White Worm. So yeah.
And there's a lot of incredible Poe stories and short stories, and none of them are this one.
Yep. There's a reason I didn't know about this until today, and now I wish I hadn't. So, in terms of freshness ratings, I will give this. I will give this that section of London that they wandered through briefly, where there was like fucking mud in the street, and also I saw legs and tarpaulin kidnapping 2 women from that section, because it's clearly the plague quarter from that story. Alan, do you have a freshness rating for this?
I will give this a rating of a scared old man. That's it.
Do you think when this guy finally gave up, the old man like walked into an alley where he couldn't be seen and just keeled over dead from having tried to avoid this guy this whole night?
Yeah. No, I got it. I'm giving this story a Rufus Griswold out of a possible Edgar Allan Poe.
I'm starting to think Rufus had a point. At least if he read this one, Rufus definitely had a point. Ooh. But hey, it's all good. Future Maureen just handed me a plate of Snickerdoodle cookies. She's still wearing the skull mask, but these look good. So you want one, Alan?
Yeah, I'll take one.
Okay. Oh, she outdid herself. These are great.
Yeah, you can really taste the cinnamon And
is there almond in this? It tastes a little like almond.
Yeah, it tastes a little like almonds. Oh God! Excuse me, Moran, you bitch!
Well, that's the way the cookie crumbles now, don't it? If you haven't done so already, I would highly recommend you nice folks get out there and you subscribe to this podcast, whether it's on the YouTubes or your favorite podcast app. Leaving some feedback or a like is always really helpful. I certainly appreciate it. And if you're feeling extra generous and you want to hear some of the other nonsense those boys come up with, you can go to our Patreon, patreon.com/creative horror. If you go there, I promise you that you'll find a lot of good stuff going back a long ways, and we're extra thankful for our patrons for helping keep the lights on around our business, don't you know? Thank you ever so much for listening, and you know what? I hope you all have a really nice day. All right, bye-bye now. Bye-bye. Oh, and don't forget, Hex the Rich. Good evening, intrepid listeners. This is the Pasta Shade, the host of Midnight Marinara, and this podcast is part of CreativeHorror.com, a network of podcasts and creators working together to build a constructive community of horror fans. For more content like this, visit us at CreativeHorror.com.